Football friends, are you on the hunt for the perfect wardrobe that balances style and comfort? Look no further than Dummat Tween Australia. They're your one-stop shop for all things trendy and fashionable for all ages. From chic tops to comfy bottoms, Dummat Tween Australia has it all covered and have suited up Atletico Madrid, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray and Western United, just to name a few. Explore their latest collection including the Nano Care and Traveller's shirts at their Melbourne showroom located at 519 Keilor Road, Niddrie, and treat your tween to the latest fashion trends.
You got our mind tonight? Play Pareva?
Depends. Well, your friend, the football will be there.
Oh, friend! Football friend!
Oh, what a superb goal! Stefan Moore, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
You're listening to Football Friends with Ben Garuccio and Stefan Mork. And here we go, it's the final round of the regular season for the boys. For the last time this campaign, we preview the week's 6 big games on the A-League men's menu. Plus, we're joined by the record-breaking baller out of Wellington, Macy Fraser, who tells us what her journey was like as a young female footballer in New Zealand as she prepares for her big move to the NWSL. All that and more, coming up on Football Friends!
Hello guys and welcome back to episode 26 of Football Friends with Ben and Stef. We are unfortunately back on the laptops today. Boring kits on, no more nice vintage kits. Steph unfortunately had to revert back to the shit Arsenal kit. But you had the weekend off. You're nice and fresh. You're looking fresh.
Yeah, I am. Unfortunately, our game did get postponed against Central Coast due to them not being able to come back. I personally think it should have been a 3-0 forfeit for the lads, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, we got the long weekend. Not sure about the shit kit. The Gunners are flying, beat Wolves. We're back. That was the difference from last season to this season. We've actually been able to kind of, not lose too many games in a row, and excited for the London derby tomorrow against Chelsea as well.
Yeah, maybe tell Sasha to stop walking around with her long paws on the floor over there.
She's got an injured toe at the moment, actually.
This is what you guys have to put up with now that we're not in a nice professional studio, but that's all right. We'll get over it. We can jump straight into the round 25 review. It was another interesting week of footy. Kicked off with Newcastle and Wellington playing a 1-1 draw.
Big result for the league. And what do you think? Last minute of the game, Rufus stepped up and he wants it over Costa. There's nothing worse. I did it against Perth with Ibasuki. And obviously you've got 2 players that want it. It's fine. But if you're the one that takes it and miss, and it's just like, oh, fuck.
Especially when the opposition goalkeeper says to you before the penalty, I really hope you score.
I know.
Like basically, just put it anywhere on target and he'll fucking make sure he'll do the rest for you.
Yeah, it's, that's crazy. But you know what? Newcastle have actually been getting quite a lot of results recently. So they've finished the season strong, but it's not good for Wellington. Now it comes down to, obviously, this last round, they need to win, and obviously Central Coast have got the game against the Jets, I think it is as well, and then they play us. So we can potentially do Wellington a favour. If they want to give me a call, sort out some cash payments. Maybe we can make sure we get the job done.
What have we got? Promoting fucking match fixing now.
If we were in Turkey or Greece, it would probably be happening. But to be honest, even if they paid us, it's not going to make a difference. We can't really change too much. But yeah, it's going to be massive, to be honest, going into that last, unless Wellington obviously lose this game. Oh no, even if they lose this game and Central Coast win, they'll still be 1 point clear, won't they? So that last game with us on the Wednesday with Central Coast is, even though we're now out of final contention, it's going to be big for us. Hopefully we can kind of ruin the party, so we can do the next Fraser. And our guest, Macy, she's currently or was playing for Wellington, so I guess that can be the repayment to her for jumping on the pod. We make sure that we get the men's team their first A-League title.
Yeah. Oh, it's all going to come down. It's going to be tight. Obviously, it's the best way to finish a season when it's like this. But the only shit thing now for the Mariners is that I'm pretty sure if everything went right, they could have potentially lifted the Premier's plate in Newcastle. So F3 Derby, you're away there, you're playing your biggest rivals, and you're potentially lifting the Premier's plate at their home ground after the game. It would have been perfect. But yeah, the fairy tale got ruined because the boys got stuck. And did you see some of the Instagram photos of where they were?
Yeah, it looked good. Good scenery.
Looked like they were on Mount Everest at one stage.
I know. And then they went through Korea. I don't know how long their stopover was, but they were fucking having Korean barbecue. So to be honest,
I'm pretty sure they were there for 24 hours.
It didn't really look like a bad thing to happen. They got the weekend off, a little bit of extra time before their second leg. Korean barbecue, big plus. They got back just in time to lift the, what's it called? The plate that the team wins for the men and women combined. I didn't actually know that was a thing until I saw the Instagram. Yeah. But they got to lift that. But anyway, that's enough about Central Coast. On to the next game. The big one, which I was keenly watching, was Western Sydney, Melbourne City. It was a massive game because if that was a draw, then we were still in contention. So obviously hoping for that result to come about, but Melbourne City were just too strong, and they've got their best players back. They've got a really strong starting team. West Sydney, they tried to kind of pull their way back, but 2-0 down. Eunice off the bench was really good. He actually had a chance near the end as well to equalise. I think he hit the crossbar, and for Melbourne City now, the last final spot is in their hands, in their own fate. So they come up against you in the last round, don't they?
Yeah, playing them this weekend. So yeah, that'll be a massive game. Obviously for us, we're down there. We can't make finals, but still, when you're playing against Melbourne City, and there's maybe a chance for them to then make the finals or miss out, there's obviously still a lot to play for in terms of pride. So it'll be a big game. But yeah, they were just too good. Like in that first half, honestly, they looked like they were cruising, to be honest.
Yeah. No, they had a lot of, even like not clear-cut chances, but the ball over the top, they kept getting in. Macca was in behind quite a few times. It was just that last pass that maybe was intercepted or didn't quite come off. But, I'm not saying that they're going to go on and win it, but to be honest, with the team they've got the best squad by a country mile in the league, I think. Yeah. And if they make the finals, they're a danger team, because if they do actually get it going, the quality they have is going to be very, very hard to stop.
Yeah. They've got still Tilio to come back as well. Now, I don't know exactly when he's going to be back, but that's a player that you got in January to try and strengthen your team. He hasn't, I think he's maybe played 2 or 3 games, had a couple of injuries, and that's another player that kind of, no one's even talking about, but he will also come back into the fold for Melbourne City. So they will be very, very strong going into finals if they don't lose to us this weekend.
Yeah, no, it'll be exciting this last round, and then the next game, victory against Brisbane. A little bit of I guess the topic of the week, which tends to be most weeks, is the red cards, and I don't actually know if this one was a red card, the Guerrier challenge. I can see it given, if you really want to be a bit soft maybe in the calls. But the thing that I don't really understand, and in my opinion, that can't be 2 weeks when other red cards have been 1 week before. So I don't really know. And then we'll talk about it afterwards with the next game with the Macarthur Sydney with the red cards. But I'm just actually as a player, really, really confused as to, I guess, it's pretty obvious now if there's any studs, it could be a red card. So you got to be very careful. But then, the Hendricks one I remember earlier in the year I thought was quite bad and was a red card. And then he only got 1 game for it. And this Guerrier one probably wasn't a clear-cut red card, and he's gotten 2 games for it. So that's massive, because it rules him out of the first week of the final. So it's really, and he's not a dirty player. So maybe he needs to use the Charlie Cameron AFL thing where they went into the tribunal and said he's a good guy and get him off.
Good behaviour bond, maybe. Yeah.
He's a good guy. Jason's a good guy.
he's the top guy, and like even the way he's gone in for that tackle, literally taken fucking the ball, bit of the player, bit of everything, but he gets up, he's jogging off, thinking like nothing's wrong, and then next second he's sent off, and even he's standing there going like, the fuck? Like it's usually a telltale sign when the player maybe slides, and then he maybe straight away checks on the player. But the way he just like got up and started running off straight away was like, yeah, clear tackle. Like,
did you see the two ones in the NPL, the one in Victoria and the one in WA?
What, the one on Kilkenny in Perth?
The Kilkenny one was horrible, but there was another one for
yeah,
was it Dandy Thunder?
Krzyzewski, yeah, broke his leg. He broke his leg
against Avondale. Like, man, they're red cards. Like, you never want it to get to that, of course not. But that's the difference between going studs up with force and studs up with no force. Like that tackle there in the Melbourne one and even the Perth one, I don't think Kilkenny was injured, hopefully not. But those are the ones that actually, like, there's a lot of force behind it. Your whole body's gone in, your whole weight's off the ground. Even if it's with 1 foot, he's got his leg planted. That's dangerous, it's reckless, 100%. This guy in Melbourne, I think, got 8 or 9 games or something. So his season's finished. But the Geria one, and then the Vujitsa one as well, like, I can't, and they've rescinded the Vujitsa one. So how can a referee and the VAR tells him to look at it, they make the decision, and then Football Australia say it's the wrong decision? I don't really understand how that can happen with the VAR. Like, the refs must be getting told something about the studs up. There must be some sort of communication down. Obviously, we don't want to get in trouble with what we're saying, and it's not an easy job because they're just trying to do the letter of the law and obviously what they're getting told. But yeah, as a player, when you go to the next game in Lolly's saying at the time it's not a red card. It's a yellow card. That's all it is. Yeah, he said it after the game as well. It's a yellow card. That's literally all it was.
Do you know why they're saying it? Because they know that next week it could be their team. And Sydney have been on the receiving end of the soft ones. Like, if I'm Macarthur, I'm fucking fuming. Because the week before, Nicolau gets sent off on Irukunda. We already spoke about that one. We said, maybe it's not a red card.
Red card, definite.
Yeah, you said there wasn't a red card. And now this one, and it's like, for Macarthur, they're going into final. And they're thinking like, fuck me, we're losing players because of these fucking red cards. Luckily, they go on to win the game. Let's actually go on to that game and talk about it because
1-0. Like they were struggling before they played us. Like, they were really struggling. We're 1-0 up against them. They get a player sent off, and their 2 late goals have now turned their season. Like, obviously they're always in finals, but if we beat them, we went very close to them, and let's say they lost that Sydney game, they're potentially missing out of finals. They would have dropped below Melbourne City and us. So, they're 2 most important games. They've got players sent off, and they've shown that bit of character, and that's what good teams do. So, and this one especially, going down to 9 men at what was a 65th or something like that, 65th minute, you go down to 9 men against Sydney FC, who, attacking-wise have some of the best players in the league. Is a massive result, and they're pushing on for that 3rd spot, aren't they? Them Victory, Sydney are all fighting for that 3rd and 4th spot, which gives you that home elimination final.
Yeah, look, and Lolly came out after the game and he just said, like, he didn't have too much to say. Obviously, he just played against 9 men for 25 minutes or whatever it is, and they still couldn't score. But teams don't really work on it. Like, I know I've never really worked on it, and you don't usually verse 9 men, but even against 10 men, like, making the most out of that numerical advantage. Like, football's all a game of numbers. You can stop and cut up any little part of any attack, and you can look at, where you can have an overload, where you found an extra man, and you can exploit the defense. And for me, I don't really understand, like, when you're playing against 9 men, why would you be building up in a 4, or why would you be, like, you don't need to build up on a 4 because they've got 2 men sent off. So if the other team's playing a 4-4-2, that's not a 4-4-2 anymore. It's a 4-4. So there's no need for you to have 4 players flat at the back. And why not? Like, I would have subbed off one of my centre backs and put another attacking player on for sure.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and they could actually get each other in the first week of the finals as well. So depending how the results go in this last round, I think it's Macarthur away to Wellington. Sydney have Perth at home. So if Sydney win, Macarthur lose. I think Sydney do jump Macarthur. So then it could be potentially, we could be getting a Sydney Macarthur, which is a Sydney derby, and it could be a victory Melbourne City, which is the Melbourne derby in the first week of the finals, which will be exciting. So everything to play for. Your game closed out the round as ours was postponed. You got the win. The wooden spoon is not coming to Time Eat. It's staying in Perth. Obviously, it's, we're joking around here, but, for a players, you never want to come last. Like, that's a big thing. You don't ever want to come last. So massive for you guys to get that result away from home.
Yeah. Thank God for that, to be honest. Yeah. Like, as you said, as a player, it's the worst thing. It's the most embarrassing thing. And maybe you don't, think about it too much at the time. You just think, we're not doing well this season, whatever. We came last, like, big deal kind of thing. But even when you just look back on your career, like, you don't want to have those things next to your name. You don't want to come bottom. At the end of the day, it's a competitive sport. That's what we do. It's professional. And, to be the worst team out of everyone in the league, it's embarrassing, to be honest. And you don't want to be that team that's down there. There always actually has to be one team that gets it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for probably all the turbulence that Perth have gone through as a football club this season, you can probably understand why they haven't been as successful. But for us, we haven't had any excuses, to be honest, and the club's very good where we are, and we believe that we need to be higher than, even where we are at 11th. It's not good enough, and it was good to get that win and secure that we don't come bottom. But the game was an absolute roller coaster. We started, scored in the first 5 minutes, and then Taggart pops up, gets his goal, which he always does, and then straight away at the start of the second half, we lose the ball playing out, and Tags is there again, bloody sniffer dog, and puts it in. Probably won't get too many easier goals than that, but then I'm on the pitch thinking, fucking hell, like, this is actually how it's going to end. Like, we're going to fucking lose, like, from a mistake like this. And to be fair, like, we made some changes. We brought the young boys on, and they were honestly unbelievable. And that's what you need from those young players that are coming through. I think you've experienced it a million times being at Adelaide United. But for us, we haven't had that many young players that have come on and made those impacts. So, yeah, to have the two young boys, Arbel in only his second game to come on and score, and it was a fucking great goal, great finish. And then also Ollie Lavelle to come on and nick it. And yeah, then we conceded another one straight after that. So
could have got a fourth at the end almost. Like, it was a weird last 10 minutes of the game. Obviously, it was quite hot in Perth as well. And a game like that, the quality dropped massively towards the end of the game. And it was honestly just like, who's going to make another mistake here? Like, you guys actually could have scored another one up the other end, I think it was. And then, it's one of those ones where you're just happy to get the 3 points so you can actually avoid coming last. And, you've got the last game of the season now, and you can kind of refresh and go again for next year. And it's the shit thing about the A-League. There is no relegation. So you can just kind of sweep it under the rug, you rebuild, you start again. But it's the situation we're in right now. So as a player, all you want to do is get to the off-season, get fit, and then come back day one of pre-season. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of new faces there. And, you can start, with that excitement, because the season's long and mentally draining, and physically, of course, that plays a massive element. But, when you're losing a lot of games, to be able to get up for these matches is not simple. Your mind is a crazy thing. And when you're losing and not winning, like, to have the motivation every day to rock up, to give 100%, it sounds easy to do, but, it's not that easy. And, now you can avoid that wooden spoon, get to the end of the season and kind of get that mental refresh that you need. And then hopefully next season you guys are back up fighting for top spot rather than near the bottom.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that's the end of our review for this week. We'll jump into some news, and obviously we already spoke about the Vujica, the red card rescinded, so we don't need to touch on that again, because I think we speak too much about referees, I think, on this podcast, which is
I told you we need to get one of them on. Maybe we need a maybe for next week, maybe should we try and get Alex King on or someone on, see if they'd be interested in jumping on the
thing
pod.
is, when you start, yeah, maybe we'll see what the fans at home think, what the listeners think, because when you got the chance to get Macy Fraser, she's just broken the record transfer fee for A-League women, or Alex King. I think the people at home, they're going to want to hear from Macy Fraser.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But the other news, I guess the big news of the week, and there's been quite a few articles written and a lot of talk on social media about it, is the Olyroos failing to qualify for the Olympics, not scoring, not progressing obviously to the next round. We've both been there with the under-20s, and I don't think you were good enough to make the under-23 squad. But
I just do the hard work to fucking make sure the boys actually make the tournament. But then when the actual tournaments come around, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, well, it was probably a good thing you weren't there. But no, it was it's something that we've both been there with the 20s. I was there with the 23s. And I think, firstly, the one thing that I haven't seen enough people understand or give credit to is that these Asian countries are spending tens of millions, probably more over the years, on their football development. Japan's obviously the leading one. They're spending crazy amounts of money. Their infrastructure, their setup is not even close to what we have in Australia. We can't even compare with them. South Korea, I'm sure, would be similar. China, again, they spent crazy money. Not that they've been that successful, but then teams like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, then you've obviously got the Middle Eastern countries. They're spending so much money to grow their football. So I think we need to kind of stop thinking and assuming that we have the right to qualify because we're Australia, because it's not simple and it's not easy. And you need to give these countries the respect they deserve because they've got good players. So we can't just, you can't just expect to go there and qualify. Like, you remember when we lost 5-0 to Vietnam?
We're so naive, honestly, as a footballing country, because even us as players, we have been naive in the past. And to be honest, we learned quick smart, because when we played that Vietnam team, they fucking pulled our pants down. Like, if we can get some clips of that game, and it's not even like you can say like, oh yeah, that must have just been a really good team. Like, they were fucking miles better than us. Like, technically,
wonder where that number 10 is, Messi. The Vietnamese Messi.
Actually, a few times. No.
He was in Japan,
clubs.
I think. He played in Japan though, didn't he? I reckon.
Yeah, I still remember his name. It's Trong something. But yeah, I've looked him up a couple of times because, man, he was.
Yeah, that was. There's probably honestly been 2 players in the junior staff where we've played against, and he was one. And when I played with the 23s, the 1993 borns, and we played against South Korea, and what's his name? He Chan. Is that his name? The one that Wolves? Wang. Fucking hell, he was another one. Honestly, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And he was at, I think, he was at Red Bull Salzburg at the time. So like that one kind of made a bit more sense. I was like, oh, okay, no worries. Like, he's obviously very good. But Vietnam, and I remember at the time, they had been in like an AIS type setup for like 3-4 years. So they're training every day. They're going on European tours. They're spending money to improve their players. They've obviously probably got 30, 40 from each age group, maybe, or a little bit less, a little bit more, whatever. And they're doing tours. They're spending money. They're all training together. So if they're putting in that money, and, they're probably going to other Asian countries like Japan's and South Korea and learning from them, why do we just think we deserve to be beating them? And yes, should we be doing better? 100%. Do we have the quality of players? I think the squad, even though we missed out on quite a few that didn't get let go or injuries, I still think the squad was more than good enough to qualify or at least push it. But also, we've got no idea how good these other Asian countries are. And who's to say they hadn't been together for a month at a time before this? I don't know. But that's just the thing that frustrates me the most, that we love to blame the quality of players, and we talk about, oh, the golden generation was unbelievable and why aren't we there? But football's changed. Back then, like, even, if you look at the Premier League, there wasn't the South Americans there. There wasn't really even a lot of African players there. It was pretty concentrated to, obviously Europe, England predominantly, and then the Aussies going over there. So it was also, I'm not saying we're anywhere near as good as what the golden generation was, But it was a lot easier to go over there because there was less competition. Now the scouting systems, you could be in fucking Fiji or Papua New Guinea probably. If you're a good player, you're going to get picked up because they can watch games now with any sort of platform. And if you've got talent, you're getting a move somewhere. So I think we need to stop expecting to get there and really start investing. Getting more money from the government is probably the number one, because we can't be reliant on the APL clubs who are, privately owned clubs and rich businessmen or consortiums to fund, the academies for our country. We need to have our own stuff going forward, because Football Australia's job is to develop players just as much as it is the APL's. Yes, it's great if we can work together, but we need to keep developing good players, and then also the coaches, and give them a platform to actually go out there and be able to compete.
But also, I think another big one is making sure that our domestic league is the best level possible for those players that are here and are homegrown and not going overseas at a young age to actually excel and make sure they're always getting better. Because I remember when we were there, the same old comments on Twitter were, fucking if any of these young boys were actually playing, then we'd have a better chance. Like, we need to play more young players. Well, now look at the landscape of the A-League. There's so many young players playing, but is the actual quality of the A-League maybe not as good as what it was back then? So you've got all these young players playing. Yeah. And I'm not saying that any of these players don't deserve to play or they're not good enough. But I'm saying it used to be that, none of these players are getting enough game time. They're playing in the NWSL. They don't play enough games, and that's why they're not good enough, or we're not qualifying for these major tournaments. But now all of these players are playing. Like, I look at all of those players and I go, fuck, they're all good players in the A-League. So it's just funny. Point. Like, I think if we keep making sure that our domestic league is getting better and better and better, then if you've got those young ones also playing, they're also going to be getting better. So the stronger our league is, the better those players are going to end up being. And, at a young age like that, it's important.
I think that's a big one. I guess it's like, when we were younger and we went into they're 23, so they're a bit older, but our 20s camp specifically, no one was really, if you were playing in the A-League in the under 20s camp, like, you were the big dog. Nowadays, if you go into the under 20 camp, every single player is probably playing. If not starting, they're coming off the bench regularly. So it's a great thing, and it's good to give these young players opportunities, because, you can, find hidden gems and, your Nestor and Kundas that come through and you can sell for big money. We need that side of it. But in the big picture, I just think we need more teams, because then you give these players opportunities. Maybe the quality then does drop, so that's the difficult part. But, like, you see players, young players getting games. You don't want to just give them games because they're young. Like, that shouldn't just be, oh, you're a young player, you have potential, we'll give you a game. It should be like, no, you own the position, and then when you actually get it, you keep that position and you excel. Like, young players around the world, like what Nestor's kind of done, you don't just come into the league and look okay. You be the best player in the league. You get a move to a big team. And that's what we need to kind of be striving towards, not just giving them the games and hoping they're going to excel, because then you go to these international tournaments where it's cutthroat and, you lose one game or draw one game, and that could be your competition done. The stress and the pressure that kind of comes. And that's where it's hard to replicate that in the A-League, because, again, we don't have promotion and relegation. So what stress are these players actually under, besides the media scrutiny, besides, the crowd there, besides your mates and your family having a chat to you? There's not the same level of stress that if you're in a league where there's promotion and relegation and you've got to fight and you've got to scrap and you've got to win no matter what. And that's, again, I think when we go to Europe, the same thing. Australia is an easy place to come back to, because you're going to be the star here. You're going to be the man, where over there, you got to scrap it out. You got to fight and you got to earn it. And that's something I think that we lack as well. And how you can kind of replicate that and give that out, I don't know. But with, the certain things of leagues now in the juniors not playing, I know this is a different topic, but, not giving scores for certain age groups, that's fucking stupid. For me, that's not teaching them anything. That's not teaching them about what it's going to be like when they get to this top level. You need to be, from a young age, teaching these kids about being under stress and how to handle the stress, because life is stressful. And if you want to play at these tournaments, I guarantee you they're all fucking devastated now. They don't get the chance to go to the Paris Olympics. So it's something that, we don't have the answers to, but there's a lot of questions out there and a lot of people that care, which is the most important thing. But we need to keep moving forward as a footballing country. And if we want to compete with everyone in Asia, yes, there's more World Cup spots now, but those other countries are probably eyeing them off just as much as what we are.
Yeah. And maybe the boys didn't get the night out at the end of the trip as well. Nothing to celebrate. That's the worst. That's the worst part.
We never had the night out when we went away.
What do you mean? Oh, those Aussie trips. We went to a few strange countries and ended up in some places that I don't think we even knew where we were, but we still make a night of it.
Yeah, brilliant.
Good.
It was, you know what? If I could go back to any age, it would probably be, it's probably two ages I reckon I'd want to go back to. When we were first at the AIS, I would love to go back to then. I think that was like the best years, you know, when we were 14, 15, had no responsibilities. We were professional footballers in that setup without getting paid and everything, but we were living the life. And then, if not then, probably that, 18, 19, when we were involved with the under-20s and 23s. Like, that, they were the best years.
Yeah. Apart from fucking getting told every time we came back that we'd missed too much club football, so we weren't going to be playing.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like,
honestly,
even
these
that,
are all, these are all discussions. These are all actually good discussions.
Well, that was that actually killed us. Like as I remember when I came back from one. I don't know if you came on this one, but I remember I was away with the 23s. Came back, and the two other young boys that were ahead, that I was ahead of, I was then below. Even though they were both eligible for the 20s and 23s, they didn't get picked. And then all of a sudden, the coach said, "Yeah, well, because you went away, you're now behind them." And I was like, "Oh, fuck, perfect. That's exactly what you want to hear when you just get back." But yeah, it's that's maybe a topic for another day. Our guest is waiting, so we'll go to a short break before we get her in.
It's going to be Fraser! What a goal from Macy Fraser! Now the strike coming in. Macy Fraser! It's just what she does.
Okay, guys, welcoming today's guest. We have Macy Fraser, former Wellington Phoenix player, just signed a record transfer fee for the Utah Royals, and Football Ferns player as well. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be on.
You're probably the biggest news at the moment, probably coming out of the A-League Women's with the transfer fee. So it was good timing to get you on, and I'm sure you're very busy as well, packing everything up, getting ready for the big move. So we really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy day or night. It is in Wellington at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah.
When are you heading over?
I don't actually have a leaving date at the moment because they're doing my visa and everything, but probably in a couple. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, awesome. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm buzzing. I can't wait to get over there and get started.
That's so good. So good. All right. Well, let's jump into it. The standard first question that we have for most of our guests is, where did football begin for you? Where did you start playing? Why did you start playing? Give us a little bit of the background scoop of your career and how it started.
Yeah. So I grew up with a football mad family. I have two older brothers, and it just started out watching them play, and I just wanted to be just like them. And we would play in the backyard till it got dark, and Dad pushed me to the ground, and I'd cry. But yeah, that's how it started. And then I went up through club playing with boys, and I just loved football all my young years. And then I moved around New Zealand to a place called Auckland for my football. I ended up dropping out of school for my last year because I really wanted to try to do something with football, and I kind of failed. It didn't really work, and the coaches didn't like me, and so I moved to Wellington, where I am now, and I started off at this academy called Ole Academy, who taught me so much. They've produced some really amazing players. Marko Stamenic, if you've ever heard of him, he's like playing in the Champions League now, which is really cool. Anyway, yapping. I moved to Phoenix after that, and yeah, that just after grinding in the academy for 2 years, I finally got a look into the first team, and yeah.
Haven't looked back since. Yeah. All right, let's find out a little bit more about this. What was it, Ole Academy? What actually is it? Is it a private academy that someone runs? You've obviously moved then, like you said, from Auckland to Wellington for that specifically. So, what? Yeah, who's running it? And yeah, what actually is it?
Yeah, it's just a academy in a place called Porirua. When at the time I went, they had a lot of coaches which had come from America. So it was just like it was completely different from anywhere I'd been in New Zealand, and they looked to play really good football and small passes. The teams I'd been in previously in New Zealand, it was kind of like knock it and get the fast players to run.
Yeah.
So yeah, opened my eyes a lot to football, and I decided that's how I wanted to play, and yeah, kind of adapted my playing style once I was there. So I'm really grateful for Ole Academy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Obviously, you're a very technical player, so you probably rather the ball at your feet rather than just chasing long balls all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it only took you 5 professional games until you got your first cap with the Football Ferns. So obviously, as soon as you came into that standard, you hit the ground running straight away. You did obviously quite well. Were you quite confident as soon as you came into the A-League Women's setup?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'd been watching from the sidelines for a couple years. So I was grinding. I was like, as soon as I get that chance, I want to be ready, and I think it paid off. And now I'm going to Utah, which is just crazy to think, but yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, I think that's a great attitude to have. Some young players that kind of come through the system, they're probably in the same position as you. When they get the chance, they're too nervous or too scared to actually go out there and perform. But you seem like you were, just chomping at the bit to kind of get out there and prove yourself. And maybe the setback in Auckland potentially was one of the reasons that you wanted to always go out there and prove people wrong and show people how good you can be. How was the couple years in the academy with Wellington? Because that's I'm assuming it's a new thing that's kind of come up in the last few years with the women's side coming into the competition. How was that, I guess, compared to what you'd played in before and the standard and everything?
Yeah, so when I joined the academy, I joined the boys under 17s team. So that was really good for my football. The boys in the academy just played at such a high tempo, and I had to adjust and match that. So obviously that was really good for my football. And then my second year in the academy, there was a women's team made, which was just kind of like girls for all random ages who just wanted to challenge themselves a bit more and play at a higher level, and we'd verse boys teams on a Wednesday night. It was not a league, it was just every Wednesday we'd get together and find a boys team to play. But that helped me so much. Paul Temple was coaching, who's the coach at the Phoenix now. He was coaching that team, and I think him believing in me just gave me so much confidence as a player. I previously hadn't had the coaches who really told me that I could go somewhere with my football. So having him behind me really, I think, changed me as a player, just because I was playing more freely. I would have the confidence to take on players, and I'm grateful to him for that, and then obviously giving me the opportunity in the A-League as well.
Yeah, I think especially at such a young age, it's so important to have a coach that actually really does back you. I think as a young player as well, it's obviously really, really hard when you go into a new setup. And like anyone, you're going to be nervous going in there. You're wondering if you're going to be good enough compared to the other players or what the expectations are. And I think having a coach like that actually, does put his arm around you and give you that confidence and make sure that you're believing in yourself and telling you that you're good enough, and just that they believe in you is probably like the best thing that you can have as a young player.
Yeah, for sure.
And then also I reckon like having, and this is sometimes where it's out of your control, but having a coach that wants to play the style of football that suits you. You spoke about, everywhere in New Zealand was playing long balls and having quick players, and it shows maybe New Zealand's a little bit behind Australia. That's probably what Australia used to be like, and now maybe it's a little bit more advanced. But I think, if you've got a technical player, you're not going to look good in that system. And if you're a smaller player that's maybe not as physical, again, you're not going to suit that. Where I saw a couple of the games for the girls' side of Wellington, and yeah, you do exactly what you were saying with that Ole Academy as well. Is how you guys played with Wellington. It was all short passes, kind of just like keep the ball and then obviously get out. And for me personally, I think Ben's the same. That's the style of football you want to play, when you can actually enjoy the ball, get on the ball, get comfortable with it. You'd much prefer to be making a run when you've got the ball than trying to defend and chase after the opposition. So that plays a massive part as well. So hopefully going over to the States, it suits you as well, and you can show them exactly how good you are as a player.
Yeah, for sure. That's credit to Paul for allowing us to play. Or in pre-season, he said from the start we want to play small ball, which is what he calls it, playing short passes, getting out of tight spaces, and so that was awesome to have a season like that under him. And I'm really hoping my coach in America wants to play like that, but also I'm aware that I'm going to have to adapt under different coaches and different teams, and that's football, and you have to learn to play to how your coach wants to play.
Yeah. Oh, I've been told a few times in my career when I've signed contracts that we're going to be playing a certain way, and then when I get there, it's been completely different. So hopefully it is a style that you want. But at the end of the day, as you go through your career, you take all those experiences with you. Maybe learning a more direct game or a more physical game, to be honest, actually helps you probably later on in your career as well. But let's actually talk about this move, because that's the biggest news kind of coming out of the A-League women's, to be honest, at the moment. It was all over my Instagram in the last week or so. So tell us obviously about how it actually came about. And obviously I'm sure you're very excited to get over there and make an instant impact.
Yeah, so the night before my last game for the Phoenix, I got a call from my agent, and he said this club wants to put in an offer for me, and I thought he was kidding. I was like, what? But I was having lunch with my parents, and at the time, I was with my parents at the time, and they were like, oh, I'm not sure. And then, but I was like, this can't be real, the NWSL. So from there I talked to my brothers, my coach Paul, my agent about it, and after watching them play and just watching the league, I was like, I gotta go over and
Wow. How quickly did it actually all happen from the moment that you first got the call from your agent to actually, getting everything with Wellington finalised and then signing the deal?
So it actually took a while, just because I played my last game and then ended up going on international duty. So I took that time to we have a couple Ferns who have played, well, actually a few Ferns who have played in that league. So I just talked to them about it and about Utah, and then they made me more confident on the decision. Then so it was like a week, I think, until I finalized it. Yeah.
All right. That's actually pretty. I think that's actually pretty quick for such a big move.
Yeah. I would needed to make sure. I'm a
Too late
princess,
now.
so I have to have everything my way.
Yeah. Well, you're the player that's, you know, performing, and the way football goes is when you're performing and doing well, you call the shots. You know, you decide where you want to go, and they have to kind of accommodate to you. And it's amazing, I guess, as well for Wellington Phoenix and their academy. You know, that you'll be the poster girl, I'm sure, you know, where it'll be like, you know, obviously Macy's come through the academy, she's played for the first team, now she's gone on, we've got a transfer fee, which is great, which can go back into the club. But it's just amazing for New Zealand football as well. And yeah, you must be so excited. But the one thing I want to ask is, are your brothers, are they any good at football? Do they play? Because you mentioned you spoke to them and asked them for advice, but maybe they should be coming to you for advice.
Yeah, they're both really good footballers. They didn't end up taking it as seriously as me, but I learned a lot off them in my young years. So shout out to Kane and Luke.
Awesome that you've got such a good relationship with them though, and they can support you. I'm sure they'll be the first ones to come over there to Utah and watch you. But I guess as well, like for us here, you know, the MLS is big for the men's, but it's not as big as what the women's competition is over in America. So for you, when you were at Wellington Phoenix, was that always the goal to get over there? Or were you thinking, I want to get to Europe? Some players obviously go there, especially now England's becoming a lot bigger. What was, you know, every player's got an image in their head of what they see their future like. What did yours look like before this all came about?
Yeah, so as a little girl, I always dreamed of playing in the biggest leagues in the world. And obviously when I signed my deal with Phoenix, it was 3 years. So I expected to be there for 3 years. I didn't really expect to be bought out because no one had done that before in New Zealand. So, yeah, I grew up as a little girl wearing Liverpool kits. So
Good on you, Macy.
oh, you're
We can be friends now.
We can end the chat right here.
I thought,
yeah, that's an ugly
the
topic.
first thing you said when you jumped on should have been, "Fucking hell, Steph, what a shit kid you've got on."
No, I didn't want to be rude.
You're thinking about it, Steph. Don't worry. Oh, that's unreal.
Oh, so Liverpool was the dream, but
Yeah.
obviously it didn't happen that way. Was it? Yeah. So you signed 3 years. Thought you were going to end obviously the contract there. What were you thinking? What was your agent even saying to you before this all kind of came about? What was the pathway?
Well, we just talked about getting to a bigger league, really, and I said to him, I just want to play in the best league I can, whether that's Europe or America or, I don't know, Scandinavia. I didn't know what it was going to be, but now that it's Utah, I'm so stoked. I think it is one of the biggest leagues in the world, and I'm so grateful that they saw me play and picked me and believe that I can be a part of this team and perform in this league. So yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm really excited.
So good. So good. Well, you spoke about your brothers. Obviously, you looked up to them a lot as a kid. Who else did you look up to? Who were your idols in a footballing sense when you were a little girl?
Yeah, so obviously I watched a lot of Liverpool. I grew up watching Steven Gerrard. 8's my favourite number, so because of him. Yeah, he was my idol. I wouldn't say I play like him at all, but I loved him. I had a crush on Fernando Torres.
Have you seen him now? How big he is?
Yeah,
Since he's not playing.
In Jag.
Yeah, wow.
Did you see the charity game where they?
Yeah.
I didn't
That
see it.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be moving as well on a football pitch anymore
No.
as what he did when he was playing. But I'm sure he looks good when he's down at the beach in Spain.
True.
Torres and Gerrard, not too bad. Was there any women's footballers like we're a little bit ignorant over here in Australia? Who were the biggest New Zealand like female players back then, or was it not even really something that you kind of could see who were the professional players there, if there was any?
Yeah. Well, obviously there wasn't a professional women's team in New Zealand, so I didn't really watch any women's football growing up, which is something I think so cool right now that we're playing and there's little girls who can actually have people in New Zealand they can go watch or look up to. I think that is so cool for New Zealand and New Zealand football. But I did the one person I did watch and think was amazing was Macarthur, and she's actually NWSL, and I might get to come up against her. So that's something. Yeah.
You got to get a jersey.
Yeah, that would be sick.
That's unreal. It's honestly just crazy. Like, it just goes to show how much the whole landscape of women's football has changed, not just in Australia and New Zealand, but honestly all over the world. Like, what you guys do now, the influence that you have on the next crop of young girls, because there is that pathway that people can actually see. And when you can't see it, when there's not maybe a team in New Zealand, a professional team, for you as a young girl, you're like, oh, well, I really want to be a footballer, but who knows what that will look like. And then obviously as time went on, the pathway kind of did open up for you. But I think now that there's actually like a tangible league, there's teams playing, even now in New Zealand as well, that little girls can actually look up to, that love football like yourself, can look up to and go like, I want to be, the next Macy Fraser. I'll really want to be there when I'm getting older. And like the difference that I've seen, and me and Stef have talked about this all year on the podcast, especially here in Australia and in Melbourne since the Women's World Cup, is just how many young girls you actually see in the crowd. Like even after the game when you're signing autographs, it's honestly ridiculous the way the landscape has changed, and how much, especially that Women's World Cup here in Australia, like the way that changed the whole game for women's football.
Yeah. I totally agree. I was in the crowd for the Women's World Cup. I was lucky enough to watch it, obviously, because in New Zealand, and the impact all those girls had on young ones watching was incredible. And it's such a cool see, and I'm so lucky I'm playing now and get to experience those little girls coming down to our games. Yeah. Even today, a boy came up to me and asked me for a photo, and I thought he was joking. But yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
It's so big.
It's the way, I guess it's the way it should be, and the way it has to be moving forward for, young girls, because you were obviously extremely committed and you knew what you wanted to do. You wanted to give football the best chance, but maybe there was another 100 or 1,000 girls that were, similar talent to you, but they didn't have the same drive, or they didn't, want to commit that level because they didn't see the future opening up to them. And that's what's disappointing. We can't obviously change what's happened in the past, but going forward in the future, you can. And, it's great that, you when you were younger, you played against boys, because it probably made you physically have to improve and technically improve. And that can still happen going forward. But, there's probably plenty of girls that don't want to play against the boys. They just want to play against the girls. And that's probably put them off from playing football. So now it's amazing that there'll be enough girls teams playing. I'm sure in New Zealand, it's the same as what it is in Australia. They're lacking the infrastructure. So they really need to kind of start building all of that. So there's the change rooms that are appropriate for females and girls going into it. But, in 20 years time, I'm sure we'll have, if we're still doing this podcast, there'll be, girls from New Zealand saying that, Macy Fraser was the one that I was looking up to. So it's amazing what you're doing, to help influence that as well. So congratulations for everything you've achieved.
Thanks so much.
No worries. But just, we'll keep you only for a couple more, because like we said at the start, I'm sure you're very busy, but you've got a TikTok account where you show off your
I knew this would come up.
freestyle. I would probably struggle to juggle past 10, I reckon. That's about as good as I get. So what kind of, what influenced you to, one, I guess, to get interested in that freestyle stuff and everything, but then also to start a page and to use that as a platform? Because it's, we're obviously joking a little bit about it now, but it really is a great platform for you to grow your profile on and off the field as well.
Yeah, for sure. So that started like how my football started with my brothers in the backyard. My brother wanted to beat my older brother, and I wanted to beat both of them and get a bigger juggling record. And yeah, I got obsessed with it. And one day my dad filmed me doing something, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And so I kept filming it myself, and I posted a video on Instagram, and it got heaps of views, and people started saying to me, you should like really keep doing that and post videos. And then when TikTok came out, I gave that a go, and it's got me a lot of like brands and stuff reaching out. So yeah, it has been good for my platform, and yeah, I get taking the piss out of a lot of it.
That was my next question. I was going to say, do you cop a bit of stick for it or not?
Yes, I cop a lot of stick for it. So
I think it's just because they're jealous.
Giving me stick.
They're just jealous. You know what? I think in the football change room, no matter what you do, you're going to cop it for something. Yeah. Like, it's just the way it is. Like, that's the environment we're in. And you know what? That's at least a positive thing. If you're getting, brand endorsements out of it, if you're, able to grow your platform and your brand. And we've had this conversation, me and Ben, before as well. Like, as an athlete, you already have a great platform. But if you can do something on social media that kind of catches the eye and you can grow your following, you know what? It's hard at the start. And when you're younger and going into a change room with the older girls, I'm sure you're like, oh, I don't want to like be embarrassed about this, but you know what? Who cares? Just own it. Move over to America. You're going to cop it again from them, and then you'll get even more endorsement deals because there's a lot more people in America than what there is in New Zealand. So
yeah, for sure, I agree with that. I think just taking the leap to do something outside your comfort zone ends up being worth it in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Ben, or should we touch on? Is it the Olympics? Are you part of that program, or do you? I guess you probably don't know yet. But is that something that you're really aspiring to make going forward?
Yeah, so I'm in the wider squad at the moment, and obviously the squad will get cut down for Olympics. So I'm just doing what's in my control and just grinding, I guess, and trying to put my best foot forward for that. But we'll see what happens. Yeah.
She'll be in there. She's just being humble.
Yeah. Well, we'll be watching. And yeah, hopefully we're seeing you playing, because what another amazing experience. I'm sure 2 or 3 years ago, when you were, at Ole Academy, you're not thinking, in a few years' time, I'll be, just finishing the season with Wellington, getting a dream move to America, to Utah, and then potentially going to Olympics. But football is a crazy game, and things can change so quickly. And you really do just have to enjoy the ride, because, touch wood, nothing bad ever happens, but it can go the other way just as quick for other players. And when things are going good, you need to lap it up. You need to enjoy it. And it certainly seems like you're in a very good headspace. You look happy. You look confident. So hopefully you keep that going, because we're really excited to keep following your journey.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Macy, for joining us. Honestly, really good chat. You seem very down to earth, humble. You've obviously got a very good work rate, and your technical ability has obviously spoken for itself already. So wish you the best going forward with Utah. Hopefully you get there and smash it from the get-go. And then we'll see you at the Olympics in Paris.
Thank you, guys. Good luck for your season as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Football Friends with Ben and Stef is proudly brought to you by the Inner Game Journals, started by none other than our co-host Stefan Moore. The Athlete Performance Journals were created to help athletes of all abilities become more self-aware through goal setting and reflection. On or off the field, the mental side of the game is so crucial to help you feel and perform at your best. Head over to www.theinnergamejournals.com and use code FOOTBALLFRIENDS to get 15% off all products. If you're a club, school or academy, you're in luck. Stefan also runs workshops and he's just released the app version, which will allow you to give direct feedback to players. Download the app for free today. Search The Inner Game on the App Store.
Another great chat with Macy, and honestly, like she's so young. I don't think she actually probably has even had the time yet to take it all in and probably wrap her head around these next 6 months, especially, but the next kind of chapter that's about to unfold for her career.
Yeah, no, she's she was very, very lovely to chat to, and yeah, you could just see she was just happy. You know, like everything's kind of fallen her way, and it hasn't been easy for her. Like she made it sound really simple. Like I stopped going to school because I wanted to commit to being a professional footballer, and then things didn't work out in Auckland. And some players there would stop there, they would quit. That's it. But she obviously wanted to make it. She found the way, and that's probably why when she got her chance, she took it with both hands, and now she's on to bigger and better things, which is amazing for New Zealand football, amazing for Macy, and yeah, we're so happy for her, and great timing to get her on the pod just after she broke the record. So we'll definitely have to keep in contact. But should we get into the game? We enjoyed it last week, so I think the listeners enjoyed it. So let's go. And if you didn't listen to last week's episode, the game is Guess the Player. We have the logos that will be popping up on your screen, and you need to guess what player that is. So they've played for obviously multiple teams. Hopefully by the end of it, you figure out exactly who it is. So you want to guess this one first, Ben, or you want me to have a crack at this one?
Well, we got to say the clubs, which are Sydney FC, and a club that's got a dog.
Jeff United, Chiba.
Is it Jeff United?
Chiba. Jeff United, yeah.
Any danger putting some fucking words in there so we can make it a bit easier for the punters on the podcast?
Or for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, me.
Melbourne Victory, Hibs, and then Southend United.
Have you got it?
Who's played for those teams? I know Mark Milligan played for Chiba.
Yeah,
he played
Mark
for
Milligan.
Hibs, he played for Victory, he played for Sydney.
And he played for Southend at the end. He went into like a player-coach kind of role.
So
he stayed there for a bit before I think he came back to Macarthur.
Yeah, but that's the thing that's got me. Because obviously he's played for a couple more teams. But that is the player, Mark Milligan. Yeah. I've got it. He's now the assistant coach at our club. So that's 1-0 for me. We can go on to the next player now.
The next one. I
know this one.
I've just had a quick squiz at the logos. So we'll go through them. It's South Melbourne, Heart of Midlothian, good club, Leicester City, Leeds United, and Melbourne City. And obviously this is someone who we've both been quite close with throughout our careers. And it can only be big Paddy Kisnorbo, the Don.
The Don, big PK. Actually, I think he was just on the podcast with McBreen yesterday or today. It came out. We were going to try and get him on our podcast. So maybe they've been listening into our chats on a Friday morning. We need to make sure there's a leak. There's a leak in our team because he's just been taken off the market and he's gone on to them. So 2 from 2 for us. Hopefully you guys at home were able to get them as well. But maybe we need to make them a little bit harder because these are just too easy for me.
Look, maybe our football IQ is just really good, but we might try a different game as well. I hope you guys are enjoying it. But on a side note, he was PK. He was the best captain. Obviously, we only met him when we're at Melbourne City, but he was probably the best captain like that I've ever had in professional football.
Yeah. He was.
You agree?
Yeah, he was a top leader. I think like he found the balance really good of associating with the young boys and also had the respect of the older players. Like he probably hung around with the young boys actually a little bit more than the older players, but the older players all respected him, and he could joke around you with. But the thing that I like, and again, it's not a criticism on the young players of today, but like we would joke around with him, but there was also a level of joking around where you couldn't go too far because then he would let you know about it. And
Or he
also
would just
small things
fucking-
like,
He would just fucking
What?
chin you
yeah, give you a backhand.
or put you under the shower.
Yeah, which was very fun. But I think like even small things like he would make you come and say hi to him in the morning. I know it sounds stupid, but like he would that respect if you go and find him, he was the older player, you shake his hand, but he would do anything for you. Like I think I was at one of his. Is it Mia? Is his daughter's name Mia? Or have I just made that up?
Milana.
Bad memory. But I think I was at one of her birthdays because I was doing nothing. He said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I was doing nothing. He said, "Oh, come over." So like small things like that, I feel as if like he really made you feel welcome. He made you feel part of the team. But yeah, when you were on the field and if you did something wrong, like he was quick to kind of put you in your place and make sure you worked hard. So yeah, he was a top guy, and maybe we still can look to get him on. I'll listen to the other podcasts and see what they touched on. But maybe he's someone we can get on because he's gone into the coaching career, and I think that'll be an interesting one to listen to. But that's all we have time for. We've gone over again as we always do. But hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll quickly just run through the games, and then Ben, you can close us out with where to find us. But Friday night lights, Brisbane v Adelaide, the battle for 8th spot, I think it is. You want to finish in that 8th spot so you miss out on the FA Cup qualifiers. Now, obviously, with the 12 teams in the A-League, two A-League teams miss out, and it's a disaster if you miss out on the FA Cup when that's your preseason, your 4-month preseason. You don't even get to play any competitive games. So we need to beat Brisbane. To avoid that, Saturday we've got a triple header in Newcastle v the Mariners, Wellington against Macarthur, Melbourne victory against Western Sydney Wanderers. Sunday we have Sydney v Perth, Melbourne City v Western United, and then Wednesday we have the catch-up game against Central Coast and Adelaide United. So a lot of very important games. Some teams obviously not playing for much, but last game of the round, you want to go out there and perform really well. Again, everyone, we hope you've enjoyed the episode, and you can find us